Guys, like, what?
Waiting for the punchline.
They were like, what? This guy
that was
knows
actually
what?
serious.
Wow, you guys are
Right.
You guys are
I
horrible.
think, I think, you know, the taking on of responsibility is definitely, and just fostering, like what you said, you know, with the example of creating a community or creating a safe space as an individual, so that people feel safe to open up. I think
really
is
the
key.
only way, man.
That's the
Yeah.
best.
There's some
That's the
battles
only
you
way.
can't fight on your own.
No, not porn.
The motherland, the African man. Long as I'm alive, I'ma make a plan. Strongholds to break, got long walks to take. Got no votes to make, we don't bet, we pray. Hey, African man, yeah. African man, yeah. African man, ooh. The African male iris through the eye of an African male.
There's something Tino and I were discussing, and you know, in history class we used to learn about the class system. Right? The lower class, the middle class, and the upper class, and then the royalty or whatever it was at the time, right? Exactly. It's funny you actually use that word, because I feel like that's still so entrenched in our society, but it's just rebranded.
Yeah, it's branded.
But I mean, bougie is still a word.
Yeah.
You know, but it's actually coming from bourgeoisie,
there,
you know, which is still a class system thing. And so, how do you feel like that affects us in today's society? Because I feel like there's still lots of traits of that entire thinking. And I feel like some of it is the reason why, you know, people just have some mental issues. Some people get into depression, and some people...
For sure.
Because at the back of their mind, it's still, I'm playing a class system and I'm trying to move from here to
there,
upper
to
class.
there, yeah.
So if I do
Or I'm
this...
trying to depict like I'm here.
Which is the worst. And that is literally the worst, especially you were talking about a man being driven by ego. So I really need help from Tino. I know that Tino can get me through that door, but for me to go tell him, hey, bro, I don't even have money for rent or whatever, so he can give me that opportunity. I'm not going to do that because I'm feeling like,
But that's a tough one. Like money for rent.
No. I'm
but
saying
it's a reality.
no.
It's a reality.
So he can open the door for me to get an opportunity to get the money, because he's the gatekeeper. But I have to be open and vulnerable with him before I get
like what Prayer's saying about the different classes. I think I don't know about you guys, like, but I grew up like in the lower class.
Oh, evidently. You've done well. Jesus is Lord. You've done so well.
But I would like...
Wait,
Man, he's got a profound point. You see upper class already trying to, hey, let him speak. I stand for you, man.
No,
I
but
stand for you.
you know what? Just for context, I also want you to also just explain what
does
you
that mean?
deem
Okay.
lower class.
Okay.
All right.
You know, like
Just in case
to
it's a
have that.
different, it's a bougie lower class.
Yeah, you're talking about, no, we had a pool. You had a pool, but it was empty. You man. This guy. I was poor, it was rough. He's this guy.
Because I feel there's a lot of misconception
Yes.
of
Yeah.
what's lower, what's
Yes.
middle, what's
I'm
upper,
curious as
you know?
well. Yeah, I'm curious as well.
Like, so I would define it in terms of income, right? So my parents, we had a one parent income.
Okay.
And my mom was working in the factories. And if you know anything about shift work and factory salaries, it's not that much. You know, when they tell you that the average salary in South Africa is about 6,000, whatever, that's not what she was getting. She was getting way below that. And, you know, so this was before even with the minimum wage coming in.
Right.
Okay.
So every single cent went towards like making
Just
ends
surviving.
direct expenses,
Just
like-
surviving,
yeah, like look,
Month to month,
Do we
yeah.
have electricity? Do we have maize meal? You know what I mean? For my guy here who's anti-maize meal.
What? So, what? We're talking about real poverty.
Do we have bread money?
White bread.
Not even white bread.
Not even white bread.
Ah, that's funny.
Yeah.
So it was that kind of a life, and so my mom pushed that you need to go to school, you need to get educated because it's the only
way
way
out.
and this was to elevate you and push you out. Like now that life is I'm very far off from that life, you know what I mean? So even to think that I haven't used a taxi in like 2, 3, 5 years.
Yeah,
like,
that's
I
amazing.
couldn't imagine that
Yeah.
growing up. Like I remember in uni, one of my friends asking me like, "What car you gonna get?" I didn't believe that I would
Wow.
Get a
own
car.
like because that was like, what are you talking about? It was very far off from like my realm of understanding. And I think now, like being where I am, I think I'm like in the middle class now.
Right.
Like I still have feelings of I'm in the lower class, right? But I interact with people that I feel are like doing way better than me.
Right.
And I'm like, how do I get there? Like, how did you do this? Like when you hear that somebody bought like this car and they moved to this neighborhood and the kids go to school, you're like, man, how are you doing this? Like,
But isn't
They're
there
probably the snake, but that's a different conversation.
isn't there a thin line though between defining yourself as middle and defining yourself as lower class?
But are you not? Are you not?
Why did you say that? Why did you say that?
Because if you're to take the perspective of you're now middle class, you're living in the suburbs, you've got a nice house, car, but let's say you lose your job today. If you don't get earnings for 2 to 3 months, are you still going to manage to be in?
I think that is the definition of being in the middle class.
You're back.
That's the definition.
You are right.
That's
there.
exactly
If
it.
you lose your
It's
job
It's
or
paycheck.
whatever,
It's paycheck
you're
to
going
paycheck.
back down. Yeah.
That's exactly what it is.
That's what
Paycheck.
doesn't make you upper class.
And it's not
Exactly.
even. It's not even 2 months, Baba.
Yeah,
Today,
Yeah, because
today the job ends now. An hour later,
Yeah,
it's just hectic.
it's
really hectic.
It's very hectic when those debit orders go off. Like a lot of people know, the payday is the worst day of the month because every single
Ding, ding, ding.
like
it's really
it's- and you get like I feel like whatever money you have the week before payday, that's your actual salary.
That's what you have. You're right. That's what you. That's
Sure.
you.
That is your life.
Yeah.
And that's such a you say that tongue in cheek, but that's very profound.
Right.
And this is exactly what people, particularly men, are failing to understand. That's your life.
Right.
So you need to fix that amount.
That's what you're working
That's
towards.
where you are.
If you need to borrow
Exactly.
money that last week before
You
payday,
know.
you know where you are.
Yeah.
You know,
And
if
That's
you
true.
only have like
So-
like you don't even have money for petrol or whatever,
a
like,
problem.
like that's where you are. But like so I think like a lot of like, and especially see this because of social media. A lot of people don't know where they really
Where
are,
they really
or
are,
where
yeah.
they really stand, right? Because like for me,
Do they not know, or do they just not live like it?
no, like it's
It's
a
an
sort of
ignorance as well.
delusion.
Ignorance as well.
It is a delusion.
It is a delusion
Okay.
because
Definitely.
people don't see like you can't see I mean the forest beyond the tree beyond the forest.
Yeah,
like
sure.
it's only particular to you, you know. And because of what you see on social media, that's what you expect to find out there in the world, and that's not the
That's
reality.
not what it is, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like the biggest complaint that you'll have is like, hey, there's too many potholes. You know what I mean? Like people, I can tell you now, like
Wow.
when I was growing up, potholes were not a problem.
They were not an issue.
You
They were
never
not.
thought about
Yeah.
this. You know what I mean? That was the least of your worries.
Yeah.
The more, let me say this, like if your worries are infrastructural and governmental,
All right, Vele. You're good.
you're middle class.
Yeah,
you
you're
know what I
good.
mean? Like
Yeah.
that's where you are. Like, yeah, this bank, yeah, the government, yeah.
You're complaining about service today.
yeah, then all right. Then you must know all right.
You must
You're
know
good.
that you're middle class.
Yeah,
you're
all right.
proper there.
Yeah.
When your needs are like
it's
like fam, this is to die.
Black taxi la. Yeah.
No, for real, because like I
crazy.
went like with the primary school I went to, we didn't pay school fees.
right.
It was free. Your worry was uniform. Like, man, when am I gonna
When am I gonna
get
get
money?
uniform?
Right.
My shoes are
You know?
finished. Where I can
Like
get,
the thing is like, and now in this age, like I run into people at work and people will be like, "Yo, man, my favorite season is winter." I'm like, "How, dog?" Like for me, that was
No,
the
that was
worst
crazy.
season
Yeah,
growing
yeah,
up.
yeah.
Like, you don't have a jersey, you ain't got
Aiko,
shoes.
ish.
Yo, fam, like how is
Yeah.
that your favorite season? You know what I mean? Like for me, like summer made sense. Like even if you had the bare minimum of uniform,
You were still fine.
you understand? Like even if you didn't have food at home, there were trees at school, you could get fruit. Like it just kind of makes sense. You know what I mean? But
Winter, there's no leaves even on the trees yet.
it's tough.
Guys, it's rough.
I like what you said about the delusion. Like yesterday,
Oh, that's a great word. Delusion is what it is.
it is. I was at a book launch yesterday.
Oh, look at you, fancy pants.
Well, it was
You can tell Tino's not in the
No,
law.
no, this guy.
He's not in the law class anymore.
He started high. He's been
book launches.
He's been high all the time. He's like, you use the taxi?
What is
I
that?
used to,
Like
Book launch.
bro, you should have.
No, but we went to the same primary school, so yeah. I can see.
So at this launch, I came across a guy. There's a guy who wrote a book, and it's called "How to Effectively Use Your Salary." Right. So when
Wait,
one,
that was
Was that the book launch?
that wasn't actually the actual book.
Okay.
He was just there to support. So
okay.
the book launch was this lady she wrote a dating book from a Christian perspective.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
The
okay.
dating. It's called the dating book.
okay.
We'll actually maybe bring them on. But this guy, I talked to him, and I think probably June, July, we're gonna have a podcast with him. You know, in the 5 minutes in the break that we had, he just said, "You know what, guys? When I go to the seminars and everything, and when I wrote my book, what I did in 2010 when I started working, I used to earn 6,000 rands, and of the 6,000, I would save 3."
Yo,
Wow, that's.
how did he do that?
he
Yeah,
did
was
that.
he walking to work?
Yeah,
or
and
what
he
the-
said,
was
bro,
he walking to work?
it's all about, and that's the trap we usually
Sure.
That's the trap we usually fall into. Right? Once you increase your income, you increase.
Yeah,
your
you want to increase your
expenses.
expenses. Yeah.
Lifestyle inflation.
But
Laughed,
Of course.
exactly,
Yeah.
that's it.
So he stayed. I stayed in the same place I was, the same little place I was, and when people look at me, they think this guy
Just
is
not
barely
making
making
sense.
it because he was like he qualified as an engineer and everything, but his life didn't change. And the other guys who were around him like, this guy, he's misusing money. Look at him, you know.
I'm loyal ish.
So he saved up, and the first house he bought was cash.
Wow. That's crazy.
And same concept as his money is earning.
Yeah, because it will get better and
He's
bigger.
still, if it was now 12K, he'll save 6. If it was now 18K,
Oh, so it's a
he'll save
principle of half
principal.
of it. Wow.
And now he's saying, I think he's in his late 30s now. He's got like about 7-8 houses that he
Wow.
bought cash.
That's crazy.
All the cars he owns are Sorry?
Are those houses not in like Dipsloet or
So even he's also done the where he's bought a house, then he
revamped and stuff?
revamped it and made them units. Now people are renting
nice, a
as
property
units
developer
and-
type thing.
So it's like
Late 30s,
such
wow.
a simple method, right? That he applied, and that takes a lot of discipline.
No, it does.
of course.
No, that's discipline. He probably doesn't have any vices. He probably doesn't watch
I think
porn.
that's the issue we fall.
It's just like laser focused.
But that's that's the other side. You know, when he said there's what to that.
Yeah.
He was actually being honest. He was like, a lot of people saw me as a boring person,
Oh.
right? Because he's just like, even where he used to live, there are certain places in that neighborhood that he did not know.
Wow.
Because he didn't change his lifestyle.
Focused.
Just like you're living in Midrand, but you haven't been to Mall of Africa.
Oh, because it's not my.
Because it's not in you are just focused on, okay, I
Busy
need to
with
save this.
ShopRite.
And if I save this for 5 years, I'm going
This
to
is
get
what
to
I'm gonna
this
be.
level, get to that level.
Is he married?
No, actually. I don't think so.
Because he wouldn't have been able to save half. That's I'm sorry.
No, but you're right.
I'm sorry.
Find this
I'm sorry. I don't.
But Eli's got a
I'm
great
so-
point.
No, it's a point.
Because how are you going to save half your money to the
Ah,
point?
yeah,
bro?
yeah.
It's a point.
But I think what I like about these kind of stories is, it's it's practical advice,
Yeah.
and I think that it might not be cut out for everybody.
Yeah.
Because of the different mindsets that people have and how they've
Yes,
grown up
yes,
and
yes.
whatever. But I feel like there's definitely always something to learn in terms
the
of
principle.
being able to
principle,
grasp some of it, to say, okay,
Take
cool, so I
something
might not be
off.
able to do 50%,
Yeah,
but
of course.
maybe
Yeah.
let me try and do 25%,
Something.
you know,
Yeah,
and
for
then,
sure. You can't
yeah, or
like-
10%.
You can't tell all of it.
Yeah.
It.
Like, let me
I
try,
guess.
you know, and do something. And I feel like that's very important because,
But I feel like a lot of people struggle with that because you have to work backwards. If you think back to the episode with the ladies, Winnie and
Norma, yeah.
Yeah.
right? They were talking about how they have to send money back home. And, you
Yeah,
know what I mean?
yeah.
Like if you already have those set expenses before you even get started, like starting
It's
like
crazy.
to save is almost an impossibility.
You're like, yeah.
yeah, but I mean, to be honest, I mean, if you think about it, it's really always going to be a mindset thing.
Yeah.
But when does it become an income thing?
It starts from the mind, bro. Because if you look at every success story, if you're looking at a success story, you're actually looking at Rex from the lower class, who's not in the lower class anymore. Tino, who
Was always
is
there.
now attending book launches.
He's always
what I
high, even he's tall, even. That's
Yeah,
how
'cause
high he
there
is. Yo.
Because there was some point
says
where
there was
there
like
was
a
some
book
point
launch?
where you were not content with the life that you were living.
Yeah,
No,
yeah.
true.
And
100%.
you almost then found this like grit and drive within you to want to do better.
Better, yeah.
And then you will start seeking out a way. And I feel
sure.
like the reason why you know, Instagram always pops off with like a lot of these like success stories and
Yeah.
motivation, and everybody now wants to be a motivator. And there's always, hey, I found out this side hustle,
That's
whatever.
why I'm asking what I'm asking, because I feel like everybody wants better and everybody wants more. So it can't just be a mindset thing. You can't just be like, I want to be successful and think your way to success.
Yeah, but mindset
Oh, okay, that's
mindset
what I
has
hear
very
you.
little to do with it has very little to do with desire. It has more to do with action.
So the actions are
Because it's gonna be
important.
discipline,
They
yeah.
must align with
yeah,
what
because you're
trying
gonna
to
start
do.
finding the information that you need, or you're gonna start finding whatever it is that you need to get to the next level. So we could use the example of how Tino was talking about the whole porn addiction, and then someone says, this is how I overcame porn or whatever, or this is what I'm struggling with. And then someone shares their bit and someone else shares their bit. And then you start gleaning, which is exactly what I was saying, where it's not going to be Rex's formula that's always going to work for me. But
sure.
if I'm around people who have figured out a thing,
Yeah.
I'm gonna eventually find ways of finding my solution that works for me.
Absolutely.
And I feel like everybody wants it. Like you're right in saying that. And there's so much hype about you can't live off a salary. You always need to have a side hustle, at least have 2 or 3 incomes. Like everybody knows this information.
But where do
Right?
you get the time,
Yeah,
though?
exactly. But you
no,
see,
but
that's the thing.
Where
That's
there's a
the
will,
thing.
there's a way.
So Rick, like what you're saying, right? To just to maybe go back to the ladies you were talking about who came and they were saying I have to send money home. Did they have nice hair when they came here?
Yes.
There you go. How much is hair?
I don't
So
know, bruh.
so then maybe no, hair is expensive. Oh, clearly no, that's not. I
we
didn't
don't
even
know.
That wasn't. I didn't,
We don't.
I
We
didn't
all
even-
don't
You're,
know.
you're the only survivor. You're the only
That wasn't.
survivor.
That
You're
wasn't
the
my.
only one with the hair.
You're
Man.
the only survivor.
No, but
I'm
Rex-
sorry.
Rex,
But what I'm
you know-
saying is, sorry, let me just finish my
sure,
point. What
sure,
I'm
sure.
saying is, maybe don't buy the hair because hair can be as much as 5K. Hair can be as much as 10K. Maybe don't buy the hair. And instead of getting the hair, just cut the hair off and save. So what I'm just saying is the ladies can't then you can't stop and say because I have to send money home, I'm not gonna save for my future. You can't do that. It's not enough. Like what he's saying was there's a will, there's a way. So there's always a way. Principally, fine. You can't
Sacrifice,
save
yeah.
50%. Unless you're not married and whatever, and then you can't, right?
Yeah.
But maybe you can.
Watches this for episode.
You know, but you know what? He did admit that in that saving, this part of his sacrifice was social life, right? Right?
Yeah.
Being classified as this guy's boring, he doesn't live life.
only eat
So
at
that
home.
aspect also
What
suffered.
woman is gonna want to be with a guy who say 50%?
We're putting on the
I
side.
7.
No, but I just wanted to go back to what you're saying, where I feel like there's always going to be away.
Yeah, there is.
It might be
There
unique
is.
to you.
Yeah.
So I might not be able to give you an answer for what would work for you.
Yeah.
But I can look at examples and be able to see that there was probably no way this person could do it, but the drive.
Yeah.
And we've seen your wife. We know it could have never worked, but you felt like you deserved your wife. So you went and found a way, Rex. So because of that,
Wow. With no hair, my man.
So you have no excuse.
I mean, you could have never.
Aye, this guy.
You could have never.
I win,
There's a famous morning live interview. I don't know who this guy was. You know, he was like, "Look, bro, I don't need solutions. I need 5 million."
Exactly. I know, I saw that. Yeah.
What?
So as the
He was
question
saying,
I'm
I just
asking,
want
like,
5 M.
I just want 5 M.
Don't tell me about it. Pareto, one part. I want 5 million.
when do we get to that point? Like, let's say,
Right.
look, I have, let's say I go to CIPC, I register a business.
Yeah.
Right. I get a web developer,
Yeah.
create a website, I have a product or whatever that I'm like selling or a service or whatever.
Right.
And I'm advertising, I'm on LinkedIn, I'm on everything. I'm pushing. At what point do we now say, okay, cool, I've done everything that I could possibly do. I need money now. I need external intervention. I need luck. I need the universe. I need someone,
Right.
something outside of me.
come
At
through.
what point do we acknowledge that could also be a possibility? I mean, how many people do you know who've tried and given it their hardest and just never made it?
Do you know what I would respond to that and say, sometimes you think you know what you need and you don't.
And you don't.
Because I remember that guy who wanted the 5 million. That guy was angry. That guy did not want to listen to anybody else who was not going to give him 5 million.
Exactly.
But he was a baby about it. Let me explain why. He just wanted 5 million. No one knows why. No one knows if it was the best. If he was going to use it properly. We don't know if his product actually sells. We don't even know if it's got a market. Like, there's so many dynamics to business. I've seen a lot of guys who've started a business from like zero, and they were stuck on a certain picture of how the business was going to grow. And because they were stuck on the picture and the way it was going to grow,
That's how it failed.
we get stuck. So
It failed.
what happens is sometimes as men, we also just get stuck on the methods. We're not fluid with how we get there. But because I'm thinking I'm going to do a podcast, it's going to make $1 million, it's going to be bigger than Mac G's podcast. And we're going to get these celebrities coming. That's how it's going to work. So the day we don't get this celebrity X,
failed.
I'm like, you know what? I want 5 million, and that's all I want, because then I can get the celebrity. Then this show can be. And yet, you actually don't need the 5 million. Maybe you need somebody who's done this a similar business model, who's failed and then succeeded after 10 years, who will give you one piece of information, or who will introduce you to one relationship that can change the trajectory of.
So it's
everything.
all about re-engineering.
I love what you're saying.
So the reason why I feel like this is very important is because in the journey and pursuit of lower class to middle class to upper class or whatever, is because I'm very passionate, as you can tell, about personal development and business. Whatever. So I read a lot of books and watch a lot of podcasts and interviews around business and things like that. And the one thing that seems to be like a universal law is that there's things that you don't know. And the moment you know those things, you'll realize that it's not as difficult as you thought it was. But what might be difficult is actually just the knowing, or knowing where to find that information, or knowing where to find the relationships. Because there was a time I felt like I had a brilliant business idea. And then I was like, yay, but to get to this level or this income, I would need X amount of money. So I almost stood in that guy's shoes. I didn't want 5 million, but I was like, I'm going to need to have this amount of money so that I can get here. If I can get this amount of money, do you know what? I was busy trying to figure that out, but in my head I was stuck on, I need to get this amount of money. Then I'm having a general conversation, just talking about my business to a friend, someone who I already know. I've known them for like 3 years. They had the solution for exactly how I would get there. and I didn't need to pay them
Yeah.
that money. That money, they actually just said to me, "Oh yeah, we could supply that to you, and we could give you a payment plan. You can
And then
actually,
you- yeah.
in fact, we instead of retail, we can give you wholesale price and give you 6 months to pay."
There we go.
You need the right.
So
terms,
there's,
eh?
so there's, I hear you, Rick,
But
but
you
I
see-
think his point is that's the 5 million. It's not necessarily money.
The hard
It's
cash,
a
yeah,
relationship.
yeah.
It's a network. It's an opportunity.
That's why I asked the question. I'm like, at what point do I acknowledge it? Do I need luck? Do I need
Yes,
like
yes.
something external?
But
of
do you
me,
feel? Do you,
know?
I don't know if there's a point.
and
though.
have you really exhausted all the?
No, it's a journey.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
a journey because then
It
sometimes
is.
you need a shift
It's
in the
and-
mindset. Sometimes you need a relationship.
And it's undulating.
Sometimes
It's
so it's never one thing. And there's
Research,
no
point.
yeah.
fixed formula.
Like I'm just trying to get to the club and get bottles there.
yeah, and 5 million. And I
All
just
this
I,
other stuff is.
it's immaterial. I want to say this though, which is one of the things that really trips up a lot of Christians is we pray for stuff. We pray for
Right.
stuff.
There's
I'm
no
praying, I'm
action,
praying,
yeah.
I'm praying, I'm praying. And so the problem with so prayer is not really in the success equation, right? Decision making is in the success equation. Oh, not you. No, not you. When you
I
pray.
literally thought it was.
No. Yeah, because with me, you never know. You were chilling and boom. You're like, what just happened?
Wait, right,
I wasn't even fighting with you, though. I was on your side.
You said prayer is not in
So
the
prayer is not in the success equation. Decisions
okay.
are in the success equation.
Right.
So when you pray, God gives you an idea. God gives you a concept. You still need to action it. And that's why you find a lot of, particularly prayer warriors, and like people who pray all the time in the mountain. Yeah, I know the bank balance is not
It's not
reflecting.
that. It's not reflecting.
Because
it.
only when you make a decision is when stuff.
Are you
stuff
sure it's
changes.
not because they're on God's strongest soldier list?
Also, we need to keep them in poverty so they can come back. Ah, wow.
Yeah, no, and I think I think that from a Christian perspective, if you study like the book of Proverbs, there's a lot of principles about money, like
Oh, yeah.
like he who does not work does not eat.
Yeah, you
kind
shouldn't
of
eat.
vibes.
So clearly,
like,
I'm working.
like
You're definitely doing something.
I'm working a lot. Wow.
and so you'll find there are a lot of principles about if you're gonna work, there's gonna be some reward, right? So if you're exchanging your time for money, I mean your time for money, there's gonna be some reward because then you've committed to a work contract, so you get a salary, you know. And if you now commit to a side hustle after work, then you're going to get some kind of value. But then that's going to be tested whether is that value worth whatever the market.
Are you really bringing value? Yeah.
And when you have real value, it starts to show. So I
does.
feel like there's always going to be a way to get to the next level,
100%.
but it's always going to come to the person who's most open-minded to learn. Because if you're always of the assumption that, because I learned something about my dad. My dad is not he's not a talker like me. Like I get this from my mom, right? But what my dad taught me was he's not afraid to ask. He always says when you don't know and you ask, you're only a fool for a second. Because you're just the guy who doesn't know until the answer is given to you. But when you've got the answer, you can give the answer to someone else. And that for me was such a profound lesson because then I've listened to him just hanging around, and then he meets new people and whatever. And then someone says, "Oh, I do engineering." Then he knows a company that does engineering because he asked and said, "Oh, how does this work?" and whatever. But because he can afford to talk about a lot of subjects with this much information in every little subject because he's always asking
questions.
And so I learned that that's how a lot of people then become successful because that principle is exactly the same. The moment I say, how did you get to where you are? How did you buy this car? Then you say, oh, I did this. Same with business. Ask anybody who's in business how they started and how they grew and how they met their clients. Like, to me, all of those stories are always profound because you get to see a small thing, a little detail that just kind of changed everything for them. And you just glean all these principles that seem to make sense to everybody else who does business or whoever, or just success in general. Like, it doesn't even have to be financial. It can be just people who are also successful in marriage. They were just surrounding themselves with the right people.
Yeah.
They had like a good network. They had a good balance of
Yes.
accountability.
Yeah.
They were able to find a safe space where they were able to share about where they would like to
Where,
be.
yeah.
And they had some kind of accountability of
Yeah.
people who would keep them
Keep them together.
headed there. And I feel like that has a lot to do with just how we should be doing life.
No, true.
You know, where we have a healthy balance of being able to have people who can call you out and say,
Sure.
Rex, you know, you did say
that was messed
you
up.
did say you wanna upgrade the car like 4 years ago.
What's happening?
Like,
Yeah, no, I don't think I need that kind of pressure in my life.
I don't need the kind of pressure.
And you know that example you gave, that person who's on LinkedIn, who's applying online, are they knocking on doors? Are you going to business complexes, leaving your CV?
Tino, have you done that?
I have, bro.
that's why you need to ask Tino his story. Then you'll know.
Then you'll know. That's why he's high.
No, but I'm just saying,
Because the whole thing of knocking on doors at companies, have you had a Zulu security guard?
but you have to go through that. You have to try.
Umthetha uvumi.
Umthetha awuvumi bafo. Awuvumi bafo. Wow.
But that's what I'm saying.
Intro,
that-
you know.
But
Awuvumi vele.
it's just that saying that, you know, have you really gone to all lengths to get that opportunity?
I
There's
don't,
still-
and
there's still
I
a way.
actually think that you can never get to all ends.
Yeah.
There's no way humanly possible because you don't know all of them anyway.
I pray
so if
I
you
never
finish,
get to all lengths.
no, not those other ones. Not those ones. We are talking about.
I'm just saying that, like, I wish there was a set way or a set formula that you as an individual could identify and know that these are my skill sets. You know what I mean? Like, I'm quick on my feet, so I should try to be an Olympian. You know what I mean? Like, I want it to be that clear cut, that simple.
okay.
I don't want to have to try 15 different things for me to find out at the 21st thing that
This was the one.
Yo,
And it also comes from you. How social are you? Do you network? Because also people identify gifts in you.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're here simply because of a relationship.
yeah.
So if you had not, or wherever you met them, you know, at a porn festival, whatever, you know, and then you're here, it's that relationship, right? So there we are. So it's those relationships are important, and I guess because the problem with Destiny is it doesn't send a memo before.
That's
you know
my
what I'm
issue
saying?
with it. Like,
So be ready. No, what I'm saying is be ready.
This
Be
Rex
ready.
is an engineer, so things have to work
Oh,
for him.
You have to make sense.
man,
You must
nice.
understand. Rex was like, yeah, well.
yeah.
Okay,
What
what-
is
we
the
need to
process?
see how the thing works. We need to know why.
Then that's a problem,
I'm
Rex.
looking for the path of least resistance.
Equally. This is not engineering, it's life, this one. It does not work with the least path of resistance. So, yeah.
No, that was great, guys.
No, it really was. No, guys, thank you again for coming.
sure.
Eli and Rex,
Thanks,
thank you
man.
so
Thank
much.
you.
And
Thank you
yeah,
for the
Appreciate it.
opportunity.
Appreciate
Appreciate you guys.
Absolutely.
Appreciate you, man.
yeah. So we would like for you to let us know what you guys think. Please share, like, subscribe, tell a friend to tell a friend. And if you'd like to come to the show, please get in touch with us. Hit us in the DMs.
Like, in the comments, please just write down your personal anecdotes of, like, how you moved from the lower class to the bourgeoisie, or if you ever downgraded.
You can't
let
start
us
say-
know.
Rick, you can say lower class to up. Then we can see. Like you can say lower
I'm not
class
as
here
tall
already.
as Tino. I'm low here.
Your end must go in line,
Bro.
Baba.
But I just thank everyone just for being honest, man. Just for being vulnerable.
Absolutely.
I think
Yeah,
it's
man.
definitely gonna help some men out there.
Absolutely.
Maybe it'll also help women to understand men
Yeah.
and, you know, some of the challenges we face or how we think, you know.
Yeah.
Sometimes it might not come out as we, you know how something does not come out to your spouse or your partner the way you think it's going to come out.
Yeah. Do you know what, while you were talking tonight, I just thought of an idea.
Yeah.
I think we should have a show, an episode,
Right.
where Eli and I
Right.
prepare some questions for for you and your wife and for you and your wife. So we can test some of these things that you guys are saying.
You need
Like,
to give
I
us
feel
those
like-
questions
Yeah, I know.
beforehand.
So we know.
And then it must be
Yeah,
deliberated
'cause
at
I
home
feel like,
because
I actually feel like your women will really tell us a story about how they got you out of the lower class.
And Eli as well.
Book launch.
Yeah, no, I don't know if I'm out of the lower class. But anyway, look, I'm happy to have the convo.
Eli, you should bring your wife as well.
I will, yeah. We'll need like more seats though. Like bigger, but anyway, it's fine. I'm sorry, girl, I love you. She's gonna kill me for that.
Someone's sleeping on the couch.
In the previous episode, he said he doesn't have a.
Those are lies. I just said I don't like brown bread. This guy.
We'll edit that out.
Yeah, really.
We will
And
definitely
then
keep that.
so we want a corner, right?
No, we keeping it in.
It'll have the most views on that.
Please, Divo, please keep that. Please keep that in. Please keep it in.
Oh my word.
Cheers.
All right, cool.
Thank
Guys,
you.
thank you so much for joining us again. And
Absolutely,
my name
thank
is
you.
Presso, and we're out.
Cheers.
Take care, guys. Bye.
The motherland, the African man. Long as I'm alive, I'ma make a plan. Strong hosts to break, got long walks to take, got no votes to make. We don't bet, we pray. Hey, African man, yeah. African man, yeah. African man, oh. The African male iris through the eye of an African